I came to in a dim hospital room, chest sore, vision blurry. Tubes in my arm, machines blinking softly beside me. My body was recovering from surgery, but my mind was about to be sliced wide open by betrayal sharper than any scalpel. Her voice hit me before my eyes adjusted. You think he'll notice? That was her. Rachel. My wife. Her laugh? Cold, smug. Doesn't matter, another voice said. A man. He signed everything. I didn't recognize him right away, but I didn't need to. The words were enough to ignite something deep in my chest, something even the anesthesia couldn't dull. He won't even know until it's too late. I kept my eyes half closed, my breathing steady, like I was still under. But I was listening. Every word. Every plan. Every goddamn lie. Apparently, while I was under for a minor heart procedure, something my doctor, Dr. Landon, had assured me was routine, Rachel had been busy. Not at home waiting, not by my side praying. No. She'd been in my office, signing papers with my name. My signature, replicated. My shares, transferred. My power, erased. I was no longer the CEO of Hargrave Innovations, the company I built from the dust of my 20s. And it didn't stop there. I caught pieces, an emergency board vote she staged, legal documents she presented, my assistant bribed or maybe threatened into silence. And him, the voice. I later realized it was Chase Dalton, my COO. He was her partner, all right. In every disgusting sense of the word. You'll have everything once the transfer clears, Chase said. He's just a name on a plaque now. We're the future. I almost ripped the 4 from my arm right then. But I waited. Because I wanted them to believe they'd won. They thought I was knocked out. Dumb and vulnerable. But they didn't know about the app on my watch, the one I had installed after my first scare 6 months ago. It syncs to my phone, records everything. I had every word. 3 hours later, when Rachel finally noticed I was awake, she strolled in with fake concern painted on like cheap lipstick. Oh babe, you're awake, she gasped. How are you feeling? I looked her straight in the eyes and smiled. Better now. You look rested. She blinked. Just a flicker of panic, buried so deep only someone who knew her lies could spot it. Rested? Huh. I haven't slept. I've been so worried. You gave me such a scare. Really? I murmured, my voice hoarse. And here I thought you were busy running the company. Her smile froze. What? You heard me. She stepped closer, placing her hand gently on my arm like I was some fragile child. Maybe. You're confused. The medication. I heard everything, Rachel. And just like that, her mask cracked. The panic returned, but only for a second. Then she laughed, a short, cruel sound. Well, I guess we're done pretending, huh? I stared at her. At the woman I thought I loved. The one I bought a lake house for. The one I thought would carry my name with pride. Why? I asked. It was all I could say. One word, but it carried a lifetime of betrayal. She shrugged. You made it too easy. You were always too trusting, too busy, too soft. I didn't want to wait 20 years for a bigger share when I could just take it now. You forged my name. Yup. You seduced my COO. She smirked. Oh, please. Chase has stamina. You had spreadsheets. It felt like someone poured acid down my spine. But I didn't blink. I've got it all recorded, I said flatly. Every word. She didn't flinch. Oh, honey, she purred, bending down to whisper. By the time you can walk out of here, everything will be mine. The board's already on my side. And if you make this messy, you know what happens to your little secrets. She pulled away with a wink and blew a kiss before leaving. And right then, I realized something. I wasn't going to fight back. I was going to destroy her. Quietly. Thoroughly. I wasn't the man who entered that operating room anymore. No. I was something worse. And Rachel? She had no idea what storm was coming. Looking back now, I should have seen it. The signs weren't just there. They were waving red flags in my face. But love, or whatever twisted version of it I had with Rachel, it makes you blind, deaf, and stupid. It started 6 months ago, maybe more. Rachel became different. Not in a huge way. Just subtle. Her phone was always on silent, always face down. She'd get texts and walk out of the room. She'd stay late at her Pilates class, come home smelling like men's cologne, and swear it was just the trainer touching her posture. Right. Touching her posture. Then there were the board dinners I hosted, the ones she used to love. Lately, she always had a reason not to come. Headache. Girls' night. Can't deal with your stuffy friends, babe. Every excuse in the book. Except one night. I noticed Chase Dalton at the same bar she claimed to be having a private girls' night in. He said it was coincidence. I told myself it was too. That was mistake number one. But the real gut punch came a week before my surgery. I found a receipt in her purse from Cartier, a watch Mins engraved to C. D. for endless nights. I stared at it for an hour. When I asked Rachel about it, she blinked once and said, "It's for my dad's retirement. You know, Charles Donnelly." Her dad's name was Mike, and he hated watches. Still, I let it go. Told myself I was being paranoid. I even apologized. Mistake number two. Then came the day of the surgery. She was sweet, loving, even kissed my forehead, held my hand. "I'll be here when you wake up," she whispered. Always. I wanted to believe her. God help me, I needed to believe her. Instead, she walked straight from that hospital room to my office and signed my future away. But it wasn't just about the company. That's what burned the most. She wasn't content taking my money. She wanted my identity, my name, my reputation. Rachel didn't just want to cheat. She wanted to replace me. And Chase, he was just the muscle. She was the mind. But they didn't know I had the upper hand. They didn't know I'd already been suspicious enough to install remote access software on my phone and laptop. Every document she opened from my account, I saw it. Every board member she emailed, every signature she forged, all locked. And the audio? That app on my smartwatch synced perfectly with my cloud. The conversation in my hospital room uploaded the second I regained Wi-Fi. I had their voices, their plans, their threats. But here's what they really underestimated. I've been playing corporate chess for 2 decades. You don't survive the cutthroat world of tech without learning to think 10 moves ahead. Rachel was arrogant, no doubt. But she was messy. She left trails, encrypted files half deleted, emails sent to her own inbox for backup, notes in Chase's apartment that I'd later find through private security. I spent the next 24 hours in that hospital pretending to be weak, pretending to recover, pretending to be broken. But inside, I was calculating, planning. My lawyer, Ben Roth, got the recordings the second I hit send. And Ben? He's not just any lawyer. He's a closer. The kind of guy who doesn't blink when the room's on fire. By the time Rachel returned the next day with her poor worried wife, Ben had already scheduled an emergency board meeting for the following Monday. And me? I just smiled at her like I was grateful for her love. Because now I wasn't just going to take her down. I was going to make her regret ever learning how to forge my name. Monday morning came fast. Faster than Rachel expected, that's for damn sure. I showed up at the Hargrave Innovations headquarters in a black suit and a bandage still pressed over my chest. I should have been in bed, recovering. But fury is a hell of a painkiller. I walked through those glass doors like I owned the place, because legally, I still did. Rachel didn't know I'd be there. She thought I'd still be drooling on myself in a hospital bed, wrapped in warm blankets and oblivion. Instead, I stepped into the boardroom at 9:01 a.m., just as she was beginning her presentation to my board about the new strategic direction under her leadership. Her jaw nearly hit the table when she saw me walk in. "Good morning, Rachel," I said, loud enough for every executive in the room to hear. "Miss me?" Her eyes narrowed, that fake warmth instantly freezing into something much colder. "You shouldn't be here. You're recovering." "I recovered the second you tried to gut my company." The board members shifted uncomfortably, some looking at each other, others waiting for the drama to unfold. Ben Roth was already seated beside me, cool and calm, with a thick black folder in front of him. "Gentlemen," Ben began, standing. "Before we entertain Mrs. Hargrave's vision for the future, I'd like to present irrefutable evidence of fraud, corporate theft, and conspiracy." Rachel laughed, sharp and bitter. "You're grasping, Nate. You're not well. Don't humiliate yourself like this." "No, Rachel," I said, taking out my phone. "This is your show. Let's all hear your opening act." I tapped play on the audio file. Her voice filled the boardroom. "You think he'll notice?" "Doesn't matter. He signed everything." Silence. Her laughter echoed through the room, followed by Chase's voice. Their entire conversation played in crystal clarity. The schemes. The forged documents. The insult about spreadsheets versus stamina. Rachel turned pale, then red, then something in between. Chase wasn't in the room. He'd conveniently taken a business trip to Miami, probably thinking he could ride this out from a safe distance. One of the board members, Gerald Simons, spoke up. "Rachel, is that your voice?" She didn't answer. Ben continued. Along with this audio, we've provided video surveillance of unauthorized access to Mr. Hargrave's office, copies of fraudulent documentation, and correspondence between Mrs. Hargrave and Mr. Dalton detailing their intent to seize control during Mr. Hargrave's medical absence. I was trying to save the company. Rachel finally snapped. Nate's heart was failing, and so was his judgment. Someone had to act. By screwing your husband and your COO? I asked. Nice way to save the company. She glared at me with those soulless, ocean blue eyes. You never took me seriously, Nate. You wanted a trophy wife who smiled and nodded. I gave up my career for you. And when I finally used my brain, you cry betrayal. No, I said, standing. I cry war. The board voted within the hour. Emergency suspension of Rachel's authority. An independent legal review. All forged documents frozen, shares restored pending litigation. Rachel didn't go quietly. She stormed out of that boardroom like she was still wearing a crown. You think this is over? She hissed in my ear as she passed. I know things about you, Nate. Deep things. You think I won't use them? I leaned in just slightly, my voice calm. Try me. Because the woman I married had become a stranger with fangs. And I was done being her prey. The damage she caused was far from over, but this was the beginning of my revenge. The next few days were chaos wrapped in silence. Rachel went dark. No calls, no texts, no tantrums. Which, honestly, scared me more than if she'd shown up screaming at my door. She wasn't the kind of woman to go quiet unless she was planning something. Meanwhile, Chase was MIA. His Miami business trip had conveniently turned into an extended absence. I figured he was waiting to see which way the wind blew before crawling out from whatever hole he was hiding in. Coward. But Rachel? She made her next move without hesitation. It started with a letter from her lawyer. Divorce papers. Of course. Filed on grounds of emotional neglect and abandonment. She was trying to flip the script. Like I was the monster. She wanted the house, the cars, half my company stock, and, get this, alimony. The woman who had just committed fraud was asking for alimony. I didn't even get mad. I laughed. Long, hard, from the gut. And then I handed the letter to Ben. He smirked. She's digging her own grave. Let her. But the second blow was worse. I got home from the office late one night, exhausted, wired, furious, only to find something new blinking above the bed. A tiny red light, barely noticeable. It was a camera. A hidden camera tucked into the ceiling molding. Sleek. High-end. Motion activated. I froze. I live alone now. She moved out weeks ago after the hospital incident. So either she planted it before leaving, or someone had been in my home after. Ben called in a security sweep the next morning. They found 3 more. One in the bedroom, one in the living room, one in my home office, right where I keep confidential meetings. And guess whose fingerprints were on one of them? Rachel. Smudged, but traceable. You think she was trying to blackmail you? Ben asked as he reviewed the photos from the sweep. Her spy. Or both, I muttered. Knowing her, she probably wanted to catch me with someone else and twist it in court. Rachel always played dirty. But this? This was another level. She had no shame, no fear, and absolutely no limits. And to make things worse, the next morning I got a message from an unknown number. A video file. I almost didn't open it. But I did. It was footage from one of the hidden cameras. Me, shirtless, getting dressed. Alone, thank God. But the caption below? Nice angle. Ever wonder how many board members would pay to see this? My blood ran cold. This wasn't about money anymore. Or power. Or even betrayal. Rachel wanted destruction. Public, humiliating, irreversible destruction. That's when I realized something critical. She hadn't lost her mind. She was still playing the game. She just didn't care if she had to burn down the boardroom or our bedroom to win. So I changed the locks. Hard private security. Got a burner phone. Installed jammers, scramblers, encrypted everything from my texts to my thermostat. Because if she wanted a war, I'd show her what it looked like when I stopped playing nice. But even then, deep down, I felt something twisted. Not sadness. Not anger. It was betrayal soaked in disbelief, because the woman planting cameras in my home used to trace hearts on my chest when I couldn't sleep. Used to whisper, "I'm yours forever," into my neck. And now she was filming me like I was prey. I wasn't scared of her anymore. But I was scared of what I'd have to become to beat her. 3 days after the camera discovery, I got a call on the burner. No ID. Just silence for 3 seconds, then a low voice. You don't know the half of it. I stayed quiet. I worked for her. For Rachel. I installed the devices. The voice had a slight southern twang, probably mid-30s, calm but cautious. But I didn't know what she was really doing. Not until I saw the backups. What backups? I asked. The drive she kept, hidden in a storage unit under a fake name. I think she was recording more than just you. My grip tightened on the phone. Why are you telling me this? Because she didn't pay me what she promised, he said, laughing bitterly. And because I saw what she filmed. She's not just spying on you. She's framing you. He hung up before I could ask another question. That night, I didn't sleep. Instead, I traced the number, used one of Ben's private contacts in cyber forensics. By morning, we had a name. Jake Turney, freelance tech guy, former security consultant. Paid under-the-table jobs for rich clients looking to keep an eye on things. Ben found the storage unit in a matter of hours. Rented under the name Rebecca Mills, Rachel's college roommate who died in a car crash 10 years ago. Cold. Calculated. Completely Rachel. Inside the unit were 2 hard drives, 3 boxes of files, and a safe containing 6 burner phones and, no joke, a list of passwords and security questions to all my personal accounts. She'd been planning this for years. And among the files? Dozens of photos of me, alone, with clients, even in meetings. Audio files clipped from office bugs, one of which twisted my conversation with a female investor to sound suggestive. Jesus, Ben muttered, sifting through the data. She's not just building a legal case. She's building a story. One where you're the predator, the toxic CEO, the guy who cheated first. She's preloading her defense before you can even swing. It all clicked. Rachel was rewriting the narrative, turning herself from the villain into the victim. Every dirty play she pulled was buried under 10 layers of false evidence. Even the board wouldn't see it coming. And that's when I made a decision. No more waiting for her to strike. I was going on the offensive. We pulled everything into a secure server, started prepping the files for a digital drop if anything happened to me. I gave my head of communications, Morgan Lewis, a heads up. If Rachel released anything public, we dropped the full story to press. No edits. No sugarcoating. Full exposure. Then I made one final move that would change everything. I called Chase Dalton. He didn't answer at first. Then he texted. What do you want? I replied. To save your skin. He called back instantly. Voice shaky, fake confidence dripping from every word. I don't know what you think you have. Cut the crap, I said. I have the audio, the files, the emails. I even have footage of you in our condo. Want me to leak that to your wife or your investors first? Silence. What do you want? He asked, voice cracking. To talk. In person. You have 24 hours. Because here's the truth. Rachel was dangerous, but she was greedy. Chase? He was scared. And scared men are easier to flip. As I hung up the phone, I looked out the window of my office, city lights glowing like sparks before a fire. This wasn't a divorce. This was war. And I was finally ready to burn everything she touched. The next night, Chase showed up at my private office. He wore sunglasses after dark, a ball cap pulled low like he thought he was meeting a cartel informant instead of the man whose life he tried to steal. He stepped inside, eyes scanning the room like he expected an ambush. You're late, I said, pouring 2 glasses of bourbon. I wasn't sure you'd be alone. I am. For now. He didn't sit. Just stood there with his hands in his pockets, probably gripping his phone like a safety blanket. So what do you want, Nate? I want you to talk. He scoffed. Talk? About what? You already know everything. No. I know my side of it. I want yours. He looked down, swallowed hard, then slowly took the glass from my hand. I didn't plan it, he muttered. Not at first. She came to me. She said you were neglecting her, treating her like furniture. Said you didn't care if she rotted in that big house of yours. I didn't flinch. Let him keep talking. She told me she could make both our lives better. Said the board hated your gut, and you were too distracted to see the writing on the wall. I was stupid. I believed her. Did you love her? He laughed darkly. Rachel doesn't do love. She does control. She made me feel like I mattered for 5 minutes and then made sure I could never breathe without her permission. He took a long sip of bourbon and finally sat across from me. Do you know what it's like to watch someone forge your name? I asked him. To sit in a hospital bed, cut open, half-conscious, and hear your wife giggling about stealing your life? Chase looked away. Yeah, he said quietly. I do. Because she forged mine too. Right before she moved your shares, she made me sign a power of attorney giving her access to my accounts. She said it was temporary. Said she needed it for protection in case things got ugly. But now my savings are frozen, And my lawyer says she shifted most of it into an offshore account I can't trace. I leaned back, processing the full reach of Rachel's venom. She wasn't just screwing us both. She was setting us up to kill each other, so she could walk away with the ashes. You help me, I said, and I'll protect what's left of your reputation. You flip on her, turn over everything you've got, burner phones, emails, passwords, and I make sure the press sees you as a manipulated idiot, not a criminal. And in return, you disappear. Start over. She never touches you again. He hesitated, then pulled something from his coat pocket, a small black flash drive. This has everything, he said. Even the videos. What videos? The ones she recorded of board members. In her condo. She seduced 2 of them. One's married with kids. The other has a coke habit. She kept footage. Blackmail, leverage. That's how she got them to support her coup. My stomach turned. Rachel had gone full predator. I took the drive, slid it into a secure box behind my desk. Do we have a deal? I asked. Chase nodded. Yeah, but if she finds out I talked to you. She won't, I cut in. Not until it's over. Because now I had the full picture. The proof. The leverage. And a witness who'd been inside the belly of the beast. Rachel had played chess. I was about to play checkmate. And the next move would blow up everything. The morning after my meeting with Chase, I woke to a text from Morgan, my head of comms. Turn on channel 6. Now. I did. And there she was. Rachel. On national television. Hair curled to perfection, dress modest, makeup soft and subtle. She looked like the perfect grieving wife holding back tears and selling a story the world would eat up with a spoon. I stood by my husband through his heart surgery, she said, voice trembling. But what people don't see is what happens behind closed doors. The pressure. The manipulation. The secrets. I stayed silent for years. But now I have to speak out, not for me, but for every woman silenced in marriage. She sniffled. A single tear. Probably applied with a dropper 5 minutes before going live. My husband, Nathaniel Hargrave, is a powerful man. And power changes people. He threatened me. He threatened my business partner. And when I tried to speak up, he used his influence to turn my own board against me. She held up a folder, my folder. The one I'd had on her. Leaked. Doctored. Heavily edited. I've provided evidence to the authorities. This is not just about business. It's about abuse. She dropped the final line like it was a bomb. And I'm not the only woman. My phone exploded. Texts. Emails. Journalists banging at the digital door, demanding a comment. Board members panicked. Investors rattled. But I didn't blink. I expected this. Rachel's counterpunch wasn't just calculated. It was theatrical. She'd taken her greatest weapon, image, and turned it into a shield. Ben called an emergency meeting. She's trying to get ahead of the leak, he said. Control the public narrative before we expose the real one. Morgan chimed in. If we go after her now, it'll look like retaliation. She'll play the victim even harder. So what do we do? I asked. We don't go after her, Ben said slowly. We let someone else do it. That night, I sent Chase a message. Ready? He replied. Let's end this. The next morning, Chase Dalton walked into a police station with a lawyer, 2 terabytes of files, and a public confession. He admitted to conspiracy, fraud, and insider manipulation. But most importantly, he painted a complete picture, how Rachel seduced him, coerced him, manipulated board members, and planted surveillance to destroy me. The flash drive with video footage of her in intimate situations with 2 different board members? That was included, and leaked to the press accidentally via an anonymous source. The media flipped. Overnight. The same anchors that praised her bravery yesterday were now asking hard questions today. Why did Rachel Hargrave keep blackmail footage of her own colleagues? Was the CEO's wife running a corporate honeypot operation? Is this a #MeToo case or a multi-million-dollar con job? Rachel didn't release a statement. She disappeared, but not before she torched one last bridge. That evening, I got a ping on my security system. My home. A break-in attempt. By the time I arrived, the guest house was on fire. She tried to burn everything: files, cameras, backups. She didn't know I'd already moved them off-site. The police found evidence of accelerant. Traces of her car tires on the gravel. But no Rachel. She'd vanished into the night like a ghost with a grudge. I stood there, watching the flames eat through wood and drywall, smoke curling into the sky like a signal flare. I didn't feel victorious. I felt scorched. Everything she'd touched had turned to ash. But I was still standing. And I wasn't done yet. Because Rachel thought disappearing would save her. She didn't know that I'd already hired someone to track her down. And when we found her, she'd wish she stayed in the fire. 2 weeks passed with no sign of Rachel. No credit card activity. No passport use. No IP address pings. It was like she dissolved into thin air. But I knew better. Rachel was too vain to disappear forever. She'd surface. Somewhere expensive. Somewhere with cameras. And when she did, I'd be watching. That's where Derek Wolf came in. Former FBI. Now private tracker with a skill set that made most cyber hunters look like script kiddies. I hired him through Ben's shadow network, the kind of guys who don't advertise, don't ask questions, and always find the target. Took him 9 days. She's in Turks and Caicos, Derek said over the encrypted line. Registered under the name Elena Kerr. Paid cash for a private villa. She's not hiding from the world. Just from you. He sent a photo. Rachel, in a white bikini, drink in hand, laughing next to some Eurotrash-looking guy with abs and a Rolex he probably couldn't spell. I stared at the image for a long time. Not because I missed her, God no, but because of how easy it came to her. The lies. The reinvention. The complete lack of guilt. But I didn't want her arrested. Not yet. I wanted her humiliated. So we set the trap. Chase went public. A full interview with 60 minutes. Tears in his eyes. Regret in his voice. I was manipulated. She told me Nate was abusive. She used me to get his company. And when I tried to pull away, she blackmailed me. He even apologized to me, live on national TV. The redemption arc America loves. Then came the bombshell. Chase's lawyer leaked video proof of Rachel seducing the married board member. She wasn't just playing dirty, she was playing criminal. Rachel's remaining allies dropped like flies. One board member resigned in disgrace. The other filed a civil suit against her for emotional coercion and reputational sabotage. Sponsors pulled their contracts. Our stock rebounded. But I wasn't done. I flew to Turks and Caicos. Quietly. Alone. Didn't tell Ben. Didn't tell Morgan. I wanted her to see me. I wanted that look in her eyes. I arrived just before sunset. The villa was perched on a cliff, all glass walls and modern edges. Through the tall windows, I saw her curled on a chaise, phone in hand, sunglasses on. She didn't recognize me until I was 5 feet away. She looked up and froze. Nate, you really thought paradise would protect you? I asked. Her face shifted through 3 emotions in under a second. Shock, anger, calculation. You're insane, she said, standing. This is harassment. You're trespassing. I'm not here to fight. She blinked. Cautious. Then what? I pulled out a manila envelope and tossed it on the table. What is this? Your options. Inside, a signed statement from Chase placing full legal blame on her. Copies of the burner footage. A withdrawal of all remaining civil protections from my side of the divorce. And one final offer. Settle quietly. Disappear for good. Or face charges in 3 countries. She stared at the papers, then looked at me. You wouldn't dare. Try me. She laughed. You're still in love with me. I used to love a version of you that didn't exist. Now I just want the nightmare over. She sat. The bluff in her shoulders cracked. For once, Rachel looked small. After a long pause, she signed. 3 signatures. No resistance. Just the faint sound of defeat in paradise. I didn't say goodbye. I turned and walked away. And as the ocean breeze hit me, I realized something. Rachel didn't just betray me. She sharpened me. I was no longer the man she thought she could break. I was the man who survived her. Final lesson? If you ever let a snake into your home, don't be surprised when it bites. But make damn sure you're the one who walks away still breathing.